and welcome to the cake tip. Today we're going to be making blueberry and pistachio chocolate truffles. These are so delicious, you really won't want to share them. To begin with, we're going to need the first 5 ingredients. And one of those ingredients is soft cheese, which is actually lactose-free soft cheese as well. You'll need to have this at room temperature to make it easy to combine. You're also going to need some blueberries. These need to be fresh blueberries. And some stevia. This is a replacement for sugar. You'll also need some vanilla extract and some pistachios. These need to be natural pistachios, not roasted or salted. Okay, let's get started. You're going to need a food processor for this recipe. It doesn't need to be a powerful one, just your standard food processor is perfectly fine. It needs to have the blade attachments inside because to begin with, we're going to be doing our pistachio nuts. So pour your pistachio nuts in first of all, and we're going to grind these so that they become a little bit dusty but still with small chunks in them. You pop your top on and you're going to need to pulse this. You don't want to blend it, otherwise you will end up with a powder. So if you just keep pulsing, you'll see that you will come to a stage where you've got small pieces in it. So pop your lid off. And as you can see, you have a fine dust as well as some larger pieces in there, which is perfect for these truffles. Now at this stage, we're going to add the rest of our ingredients to this mix. So we're going to put our fresh blueberries in, followed by our stevia, and then our soft cheese. Now this cheese is so much easier to combine if you cut it up into small chunks before you put it in there. It just takes less time. It means that you don't end up having to over process the blueberries. Once that's all in there, the last ingredients that you're going to need to pop into the food processor is going to be your vanilla extract. I will put the weights and measurements of all the ingredients in the description underneath the video. Once you have all your vanilla extract in there, then pop your lid onto your food processor and we're going to do exactly the same as we've done before. We're going to just pulse it. For exactly the same reasons before, we don't want to over combine the blueberries. It's very important that you still have large chunks of the blueberries in the mix. When you think your mix is ready, pop the lid off and have a look inside. And as you can see, we still have some larger lumps of blueberries and pistachios, which is exactly how we want it. So we're going to remove our bowl from our food processor and we are going to put our mix into another bowl. So any bowl of any size is perfectly fine. The reason that we need to transfer this to another bowl is that we need to make sure that the mix hardens up. And the way we're going to do this is once we have all the mix in the bowl, we're going to pop it into the freezer, yes, and not the fridge, just for about half an hour. It just allows it to firm up and make it much easier to roll into balls. So pop that in the freezer. Meanwhile, we're going to make up our coating for our truffles. You're going to need a food processor for this again. And we're going to put some sugar-free, gluten-free, lactose-free chocolate. And this is quite a hard chocolate, so it actually tends to be very easy to break up rather than melt. So pop that in your food processor, pop the lid on, and once again we're going to do exactly the same. We're only going to pulse with this until we get to a stage where it looks a great coating for a truffle. Remove your lid from your food processor and we're going to transfer this dusty, chunky chocolate into another bowl. You'll know if it's okay, so you'll have some small lumps still within there. So pop that into another bowl. Once all of the chocolate is in a separate bowl, we now have the choice to add some berry powder to this chocolate if you want to. This is not essential for the recipe. It just gives it a little bit more of a berry flavour to it if you have the powder available. So I'm just going to take a small amount on a teaspoon, and when I'm happy with the amount I'm using, I'm literally just going to grab a spatula and just turn this into the chocolate. The great thing is that the powder is a dust and some of the chocolate is also a dust, so it combines brilliantly. So when I'm fully happy that that's fully combined, then we're going to move on to the next stage. Okay, so you're going to need a rather large plate covered in parchment or baking paper so that it doesn't stick to it. You're also going to need your firm mix, your truffle mix, and your chocolate also. You're going to need a bowl of water. This is to dampen your hands so that the mix doesn't stick to your hands too much. You're also going to need a couple of forks. This is for putting your truffle into the dusted chocolate and turning it over onto the plate. The other thing you're going to need is a teaspoon to grab your mix to make the right size. So I'm starting by wetting my hand, and then I'm going to take a spoonful, about the size of a large marble is what you want. And as you can see, it's nice and firm, so it's going to be nice and easy to roll into a ball. You will have to slightly shape it first of all before you start using the palms of your hand to fully shape it into a marble shape. But once you do have it into that shape, then it's just a case of popping it into the chocolate and turning it over into the chocolate and then onto the plate. It really is that easy. So pop it in, grabbing your forks, you're literally just going to coat it into the chocolate. Now you can use your hands to do this if you prefer. If you're not bothered about getting messy, it's actually much easier to use your hands than it is a fork. So once that's fully coated, you can then pop it back into your hand to reshape it. Because sometimes you find that when you roll it around the bowl, it no longer looks like a nice round truffle. So pop it in your hand and then pop it back onto the plate if you're happy with the shape. And you're going to repeat this process over again. And if your hands are a little bit sticky, don't worry about it, just wet them again to continue this process. The mix should make between 18 and 22 of these truffles, and they do actually freeze really well because that is quite a large number of them, and because these are sugar-free and they're using stevia, sometimes they can act as a little bit of a laxative. So you really only want 2 of these, or maybe 3 if you really want to push it. So they're great to store in the fridge for when you're wanting something that's that extra little bit of a treat. Now just continue this process until you've covered your plate with truffles, used up both of all of your mix. Once you've finished, you're just going to pop these into the fridge for roughly a couple of hours. You need them to be able to allow to firm up, just as you would a normal cheesecake, so that they're easy to serve. Once they're firm, we'll take them out of the fridge and we're just going to remove them from the parchment paper if they're nice and firm, and then we can serve them how we wish. I'm choosing to use a ramekin, and I'm going to put probably about 6 or 7 of them in here, and then I'm going to go and share them with the family. So thanks very much for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed it, and remember to subscribe for all future videos for gluten-free, dairy-free, vegan, keto, paleo, and much more.